Welcome to the John Malone Show. Today I want to talk about no-knock warrants, chokeholds, and drone strikes. I feel like these three things have a lot in common, especially the no-knock warrants and these drone strikes. Now, there have been issues with these no-knock warrants for quite a while, so this is nothing new to us, especially when it comes to the Breonna Taylor case. This past Sunday, I was watching the news, and they were talking about a drone strike that happened in Afghanistan. I think they said this happened around the end of August, early September. I think it was the end of August. And the news was reporting that two investigative journalists had uncovered that this might have been an accident, that we might have hit the wrong person, that what the U.S. government thought was a terrorist ended up being a humanitarian aid worker. And not only did they kill this humanitarian aid worker, but apparently there was 7 children that were killed, as well as I think 2 of the gentleman's nephews. Apparently, they waited for the gentleman to pull up into his driveway at his residence, and then they fired a missile into his car from a drone. And I guess whenever this gentleman comes home, his family likes to rush out there to greet him, like his nieces and nephews. And the first reporting from the military says, "We're certain we got the right target. We're certain. We have the most technologically advanced military on this planet. And when we think we're certain, we are not helping ourselves, people." Yesterday, I watched Rand Paul questioning Anthony Blinken, who's our current Secretary of State. And he asked him what he knew about this drone strike, asking if this gentleman was an aid worker or was he an ISIS-K member. And Anthony Blinken's response was, "I don't know, we're still investigating the strike." I gotta tell you, this kind of cavalier behavior from our top officials is one of the main reasons why people say they don't trust our government. Not only foreign citizens, but Americans. Our government is making it very difficult for us to trust them. The reason why I say these drone strikes and no-knock warrants have a lot in common, it seems like there's no investigative work happening anymore. I read a report where they said they followed this gentleman around for 8 hours. With what? Would they follow him with a drone? Apparently this gentleman was delivering water and food to people. And that morning, during his daily deliveries, he had to go by his boss's office and pick up a laptop computer because his boss left it at home. So this guy was like a Postmates driver. I mean, if you look at it that way. Just drove around delivering things all day. And our military thought this was suspicious because he just seems to be driving around. Yeah, guys, making deliveries. Are we as a society today just not doing any investigative work anymore? I grew up watching movies in the 70s and 80s where there was always FBI or detectives in these vans, right? They were like a cable van or a plumbing van. They had the blacked out windows to where only they could see out, nobody could see in. And inside they had all kinds of surveillance equipment, listening devices, cameras, binoculars. And they'd sit there for days and weeks and months, day after day, seeing who's coming and going. What are they carrying? Who are they talking to? Who are they associating with? So whenever it came time for the big bust, they made sure that all the right people were at the right place. One of the things in these movies is that we show how tedious of work this was. Right? These were long hours. You had multiple shifts, lots of note taking. So whenever the next team would come in to give the other team rest, they would compare notes, say, hey, this is what we've seen so far. They've not moved or they've not done anything, or would simply just pass off any information from what they'd seen so far. Are we not doing this anymore? We just kick indoors, guns a-blazing? Because when I heard about this, I immediately thought of the Breonna Taylor case. Right, the police were looking for one specific person. They went to a place that he's known to be at. Did they do any surveillance to check and see if he was there? I mean, from what I gather in the news, they just kicked in the door and figured to ask questions later. And I know when the Breonna Taylor case came up in the news, my mind immediately went to a case that I remember seeing in the news from like 2014, where a Georgia SWAT team tried to make entry into a house for a methamphetamine bust, and they threw a flashbang grenade inside the house, and it ended up landing in a baby's crib. And come to find out, the person they were looking for wasn't even there. Of course, there was no indictments. Nothing ever happened to any of the SWAT team members. But they did say if they had to do it all over again, they wouldn't have used a flashbang grenade. They would have maybe come in the side door, because they ended up arresting the person they were looking for at a completely different location. So could all this stop if we just did some good old-fashioned detective work? If you stake out the place, grab these people as they're leaving their house when nobody else is around, where they're vulnerable and their guard's down and they're less apt to resist. You know, you swarm them with like a shock and awe kind of, you just surround them. We see it in the movies. And the suspect is caught completely off guard and they take him down and there seems to never be any issue. So do we absolutely have zero assets on the ground in Afghanistan? Or if we thought this person maybe was an ISIS member, that we could have been following him for days or weeks to be 100% certain instead of just fairly certain? Because we do this stuff where we use these drones and we end up bombing civilians. We end up bombing weddings. I think one time we bombed a funeral. This is chaos. How can we have the best military in the world and we can't get this shit straight? And they bomb this guy in his driveway in a neighborhood? You mean to tell me when they were following this gentleman around for 8 hours while he was just driving around in his car making deliveries, that there wasn't a safe place to shoot a missile at him? Where there was no buildings, no homes, no schools, no churches, no children? Nah, let's wait till he gets home and hope that nobody's there. Except for him, of course. And of course, whenever they talk to the military about it, we're getting this attitude from General Milley. It's almost this Jack Nicholson, a few good men attitude. Like, how dare you question the way I protect you? Very cavalier. And we wonder why these people over there hate us. Our behaviors and our actions breed this kind of terrorism. Because then they want to retaliate. And they don't go after military bases. They go after us as civilians. And a Hellfire missile into a little 4-door, 4-cylinder sedan? Seriously? We need that kind of firepower to take out a car? I mean, we have nothing in our arsenal that's a little bit more precise than that. So we don't have all this shrapnel killing innocent civilians? Unbelievable. And the thing that made me want to talk about this is that yesterday, Attorney General Merrick Garland came out with a statement saying that we are going to restrict the use of chokeholds and no-knock warrants. One report said that he was going to ban them, but then one report said that they're just going to limit them. And from what I understand, these restrictions only apply to the FBI, DEA, and U.S. Marshal Service. So this has nothing to do with your local police or sheriff's department. Are we all not exhausted from hearing these stories happening over and over and over again, that we're not learning from our mistakes? We just can't stop cold turkey from all this indiscriminate killing of people. It's like this is an addiction or something. Oh, I'm going to try harder next time. We're really working on the issue. And I'm not conspiracy minded at all, but this opens the floodgates to the conspiracy theorists to say, oh, well, this is all for a deeper purpose. See, we do something like this knowing it's going to create a negative impact, and this will cause retaliation. So we just keep the big war machine going. I don't think it's that at all. I think this is just gross incompetence. I love Bill Maher's new rules. So I have a new rule. You have to surveil somebody for days and weeks or months, however long it takes, until you are 100% positive that the person you are after is truly the person you are after. And they are where they're supposed to be, and that you're not kicking down doors 2 blocks away at the wrong address. I mean, this shit's got to stop. You mean to tell me with all the interpreters that we've left there behind that we couldn't still keep somebody on payroll that could keep an eye on this person and follow them around, somebody that we trust implicitly, who will give us good information, good solid intelligence, so there's not a single shadow of a doubt that we've bombed the wrong person? This goes back to what I keep talking about, how we're constantly putting ourselves behind the 8 ball. We're never working on the solutions, right? We're never being proactive. We always just react to a fuck up. We'll learn from this lesson and make sure it never happens again. But it does happen again. And again. And again. It's fucking exhausting, guys. Get your shit together. Am I angry? You're damn right I'm angry. Because this isn't a case of a really bad retail manager who doesn't understand how to make a schedule and keep scheduling people at the wrong times and the wrong days. This is people's lives. Innocent lives. Children. For God's sake, children. This is a big fucking deal. And it's getting very little focus in the news. How is this not a major story? How is this not continuously in the 24-hour news cycle? So since I talk about solutions a lot, my solution would be to do more investigative work. Stop this whimsical bullshit. Our defense is always, well, there was an imminent threat and we had to stop it immediately. Imminent threat to who? Hadn't we just pulled out of there? You want to talk about an imminent threat? What about all the translators and all the Afghan civilians who'd been assisting our military who are being systematically murdered over there right now? What are we doing to stop that? That's imminent. That's happening right now, every day. And we're not doing a damn thing about it. Was it Obama that called ISIS the JV team? That's how we're operating right now. Shit, we're the JV team right now. So whether it's our military or sheriff's departments or SWAT teams, with this habitual problem of kicking down the wrong doors, can we stop, please? Can we just stop altogether? Can we do some more surveillance, do some more detective work, and be 100% certain that the person you're after is where they're supposed to be? And either grab them or kill them where there's nobody else around, where there's no chance of harming innocent civilians. I have no military background. I've never been a police officer, but this is just common sense. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Leave me a comment down below. Tell me if you have a solution to these issues, because what we're doing now isn't working. And apparently all the oversight committees they have don't have an answer to these problems. So maybe it's up to us to come up with some solutions. So if you can think of anything, please, like I said, leave a comment down below. And if you enjoy listening to my podcast, please hit the subscribe button. And I'll talk to you next time on The John Malone Show.